Hello, do you like New Japan Pro Wrestling? Are you a Shin Nihon freak? If so, check out the Super J-Cast with Joel and Damon on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network.
And even if you fucking hate New Japan Pro Wrestling, listen to the Super J-Cast anyway. Not just for our great show reviews, analysis, and pastrami sandwiches, but there's also usually some dick jokes somewhere in the obligatory opening 30 minutes of absolute nonsense we chat about every single week. That's the Super J-Cast for all the best talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, crisps, and pornography.
Cheering at pro wrestling shows in Japan is back, and 2023 is already shaping up to be a big year in the history of pro res. That's why you should listen to the Emerald Flow Show. From the Royal Road to the Green Mat, Paul and Gerard take you into the world of All Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah. Not only do we analyze events, but we examine business, who is getting over, what angles are working or not. Occasionally, we take a look at other Japanese promotions like DDT and Zero One. So if you're looking for more coverage of the world of Japanese wrestling, check out the Emerald Flow Show on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network, available on all of your favorite podcast apps.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Professional wrestling. Wow. We like professional wrestling too. This is Shake Them Ropes. I am Jeff Hawkins. He is Chris Novembrino. It is April 21st, 2023. Happy 420 to those of you who partake.
Wake and bake, baby.
Chris, I'll make a compromise with you. My uptightedness and all that other stuff.
Finally.
My libertarian notions. I'm fine if you do it. I'm fine if, edibles, all that other stuff, great. Whatever floats your boat. But if I have to smell it, or if you hotbox my effing elevator, death penalty. That's the one downside.
Life is hard, man.
No,
Life
that's the one
hard.
downside of California. It's like I'm dressed to go out. I think I've told you this story before. It used to be my next door neighbor, which was the worst because it's just like, great. I'm gonna be sitting here and pot smoke also. But it's like, this is when I was getting up at like 2 a.m. to go to work, and I was like leaving at 3. Some dude had just hotboxed my elevator. It's like, Sir Hawkins, you've been taking drugs? No, I haven't. I'm just trying to go to work, and I live amongst pot smokers. Like, so I'll give and I'll take. How about that? How did you celebrate, Chris?
I mostly worked. I
know you are now in the field.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to actually celebrate really until like late in the evening, and at that point, it wasn't even really celebrating. It was like, I'm gonna smoke and go to bed. It was not like a big day of smoking. I was working at various dispensaries, handing out T-shirts and stuff and encouraging sales.
It doesn't sell itself. You need to give swag away.
Well, no, there's a lot of products. So people go in, they spend X amount of dollars, and we want to make sure that they're buying Dynamic Jack product.
As I put it in our pre-show chat, it's like church on Easter. 420s when all the curious ones come out. You get converts. Come on over.
Why not? Try some edibles.
Yeah, no, edibles are fine. Especially as a gateway. Yeah. Really then hooking them in.
Well, it's an easy way for people who aren't used to smoking to try.
People who don't smoke. Yeah.
And like, I mean, one of the things that I've become more educated on here over the last couple of months has been the not THC line of products. Like, I mean, the CBD products, the CBG, there are just so many like derivatives now that are on the market that are actually really wonderful for pain relief. And so like those in gummy forms are really good too.
You want to do any plugs for here?
I mean, no, like we're in like a New Mexico only product. So if you're not like in New Mexico,
okay.
yeah.
Well, I thought there might be brands or something like that.
Oh no, I guess what I would say is, especially if you have arthritic pain, and you're like uneducated on this, in most states, you
CBD oil is legal.
Should be able to get CBD cream, right? Like a high concentration CBD cream is really good for arthritis, but like CBG is a derivative of CBD, and that one's really good in that it doesn't make you drowsy. It's sort of like the least drowsy of them.
Now, for my dad joke, is there a CBGB?
There's a CBN.
Okay. I laugh because that has a whole different connotation where I grew up. That's the Christian Broadcasting Network where I grew up.
Right. Yeah.
The Pat Robertson strain of weed is really, really strong and preachy and judgmental.
Well, this derivative does put you to sleep, much like CBN.
Oh, well, if you like wrestling, you're getting more of it and good and hard. Opening up our news as things stand right now, reading from the Wrestling Observer from this week, the return of CM Punk is scheduled for June 17 at the United Center in Chicago, which, being a Saturday night show, is likely the debut of the new weekly show, which I believe is called AEW Collision. Also quoting from the Wrestling Observer, multiple people have said that Warner Brothers Discovery wanted Punk back as the star of the new Saturday show, although others have been told differently. We do know that he was extremely important in this deal, but whether the deal was incumbent on him, we've heard both ways. One person outside the company has seen correspondence indicating that Warner Brothers Discovery definitively, I think this is definitely, wanted him back, and other things that have happened in recent weeks, very much behind the scenes, have indicated to us that Punk being back is, if nothing else, very significant in everything. Now, give a little clarification of this. I am not sure, and I have been reading all the reports, and they're not sure either whether this is just Punk as the centerpiece of a quote-unquote brand split type show, or whether or not Punk is the creative force and / booker of this show. But I believe both have positives and negatives. But before we get into all that analysis, Chris, your thoughts on CM Punk being back in the fold, and also this brand split, quote unquote, using the vernacular of the other company, incoming?
The brand split is baffling. I don't think it will help this show. I mean, the only thing that it helps is that you have fewer titles on each show, but I think it makes a B tier of titles almost instantly. I have serious doubts that a Saturday show can get good ratings traction with or without CM Punk. And I also have my doubts that CM Punk is the same ratings draw now that he was a couple of years ago. So I think there's some, bad will among the fans towards Punk. And I worry that he's on like a Cody Rhodes style trajectory right now.
That's interesting, because I'm kind of the same way. I think there's a certain segment of this fan base that so loves Kenny and the Bucks that they're going to be vocal at shows booing down CM Punk whenever he's on screen. And, I also agree with you. What is the purpose of Ring of Honor with a new Saturday show?
There's just not enough there to justify a brand split is where I'm at.
No, that too. It's like, okay, are we, the only reason there's a brand split, quote unquote, is because there's a too large of a roster with too many people who don't matter and aren't doing anything that you should probably be sending to the indies, like Private Party, like Top Flight, like all these other guys that you can put on TV occasionally, but they still need seasoning, and they're not stars, and they're in this morass of a mid card where it's like a bunch of good workers with no personality. And yeah, I think,
let's say this CM Punk thing doesn't take too, which is a very decent likely outcome here, right?
Yes.
Then you've done this brand split, and what? You're just going to collapse back in?
Right.
How goofy is that going to look?
And also, the thing about this is, like, the Punk being the creative force is very interesting to me as well. Because what if this show starts to get more buzz than Dynamite? The problem here with the brand and the roster split or whatever is, I don't know if you have enough people now that this well has been poisoned to have a happy coexistence with Punk. And I say that as someone who wanted Punk back in just for the money and for the run that they would get out of this. But now giving a Punk expanded universe, so to speak, I don't know. I don't think that you're going to have
brand splitting this women's roster hurts my brain.
Yeah, I'm not going to be used enough over there, or being used enough, or I'm on that secondary show over there only, and I can't get any on the hot show. It becomes a lot like Raw and SmackDown back in the day when Raw was treated as the only A show, and SmackDown couldn't get shot if they were seen in public for the most part. It's one of those things where I just see far too many negatives. And as much as, the nostalgia part of me goes, oh, a 605 show on TBS or whatever. I mean, we've seen with now the ratings on the AEW reality show are dropping like a rock. Rampage barely gets anybody watching it. Quick story. I was playing a poker tournament last Friday at a casino, and they had the NBA on, and it switched to Rampage, and somebody at the table goes, who put on this WWE S on the TV? And it's, oh, Jeff Hardy, he's still around? Those were the two big takeaways from seeing wrestling on TV from somebody who doesn't watch wrestling, obviously. So that's always interesting. But it's one of those things where it's like, this could do far more damage to an AEW roster than one thinks. And they're not doing a lot of innovation. It's not like they're going to come on, this is going to be a totally different type of take on professional wrestling or anything like that. It's just going to be more matches in front of a live crowd, an arena crowd. There might be marathon tapings. There might be a second crew touring the country. And so you have 2 nights of TV tapings. It is fascinating to me that AEW's strategy for taking on WWE was to flood the market with more product, thinking that it was a more superior, you'll understand this as someone in the trade, Chris, a more superior brand with a stronger addictive value or whatever, however you want to put it, better work rate, but still, hey, it's wrestling for 2 hours and there's not a lot of thought in it. We're just putting things together. And hey, wrestling fans will watch wrestling and WWE fans will watch WWE type of a thing.
Yeah. I mean, even thinking about it as a product line, that doesn't fully capture the problem of it, but it does a decent job getting the start of it. So if you're thinking of it a product line, you have your flagship product, and then ideally you have some revenue being driven by these secondary products, right?
Yes.
But if you're not getting to a certain point with it, then you're just spending a lot of money producing these secondary products and spending resources to make those products when you could just be focusing on making a better primary product. And AEW definitely suffers from that problem. But then the other problem that AEW suffers from is that you need to have an overarching narrative from show to show to get people to pay attention from show to show.
Yes.
You can't just have matches for matches' sake. And so in this sense, it's even worse than thinking about it as just like a product line that's oversaturated with too many things, or like a restaurant menu with too many dishes. In this sense, if people aren't eating from all of the dishes on the menu, aren't buying all the products in the line, then it dilutes the interest in even the flagship product.
Yes.
So the real danger of having secondary products that people aren't consuming is that you sort of get into a death spiral with your primary product too.
Yeah, people aren't watching Rampage right now. I don't understand the thought of, oh, well, let's do another 2-hour show, but with other people. It's like, okay. It's not like the people that put on Rampage are people that people don't like.
If you told me they were wrapping up Elevation, wrapping up Rampage and replacing those products with this new Saturday show, that would make a lot more sense to me. It still would not justify a brand split, but it would make a lot more sense in terms of, okay, we're reorienting, we're pivoting towards CM Punk here, but I would just see if the CM Punk thing even takes before giving him the keys to a brand split. I don't know the company needs a brand split. They
need a brand, to be honest with you. I mean, when you think AEW wrestling, what do you think? I mean, some people will say good work rate.
Yeah. I mean, it would be great matches, but at this point, when I think of AEW, honestly, I think of like a long match that has blood in it.
Okay, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
Moving on.
It might be a main event. It might be a main event level match. It might be like a, kind of like a more mid-level match, but like a 15 to 25-minute match that has blood in it.
And every week you're going to get blood from somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fightful Select reported that WWE and Twitch have reached a deal that will allow talent to broadcast again on the platform with almost no restrictions. Basically, the only restriction is they would need permission from WWE to have non-WWE performers on their Twitch streams. Talent will get more than a 50-50 split, with WWE's end coming from the non-talent side. That's interesting, because remember that was a main bone of contention for somebody like Adam Cole leaving, and also from Selena Vega deciding to walk away from the company at one time too. But it looks like there's at least an amicable type of arrangement, although as opposed to the 50-50 split between the streamer and Twitch, it'll now be more than 50% for the talent, and Twitch and WWE splitting. And from what I've read, WWE's percentage will probably be in the single digits of some kind.
I think that's extremely reasonable. I think that's a nice modernization of the relationship.
Yeah, and especially, if people want to make more, I mean, the NXT people, especially because of those contracts, wanting to stream video game playing, and people will watch, why not let them have a little bit more disposable income? I'm here for that. But someone who did get some disposable income and is in trouble now, Ted DiBiase Jr., former WWE wrestler, indicted on multiple charges related to the diverting of money that was supposed to be earmarked for legitimate welfare recipients in Mississippi. The indictment against DiBiase Jr., 40, called the funding that he received a sham arrangement designed to divert federal funds for his own personal use and the use of others, both known and not known, to the grand jury. DiBiase Jr. was charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and to commit theft concerning programs receiving federal funds, 6 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of theft concerning programs receiving federal funds, and 4 counts of money laundering. The indictment came from a grand jury in Jackson, Mississippi on April 18th and was publicly announced 2 days later. And of course, Chris, it was broadcast as former WWE wrestler Ted DiBiase indicted. So everybody thought it was his dad. But any recurring thoughts to this thing? Because Brett DiBiase is already, I believe, pled guilty.
Everybody's got their price, Jeff.
Oh, jeez. There's also the Brett Favre thing too. Once that happens, but yeah, that's. I wonder if McAfee has anything to say about that. I'll have to look that up later. Dax Harwood canceling his podcast this week, stating that there was a strain on his career and on his interpersonal relationships with other wrestlers. I also happen to think this came from on high after re-signing, but I think this is a good choice, Chris.
Probably so. It seemed like that podcast was causing him a little bit of trouble.
Little bit of problems at work. Because while it's nice to kind of open the door and be a little bit free balling on the opinions and things like that, the problem with being honest about your opinions, that honesty isn't always the best policy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've had some trouble with these guys in the past. Hey, wait, I heard what you said to a national show. We were doing that. Oh, my goodness. Bushi Road Wrestling, apparently, which is New Japan and Stardom, we're told they could bring in Trinity Fatu, the artist formerly known as Naomi, but felt it would cost too much for the return and thus far haven't made that deal. That's kind of intriguing.
That is intriguing.
I thought Trinity was going to go back, but it appears that she's going to test these free agent waters, and I would not be shocked if she is in a Ring of Honor or Impact sooner than later.
Yeah, possibly. I mean,
There's not a lot of options. I don't think AEW signs her. I just don't. Unless she's like a special guest to be the Outcasts.
Oh, she would be good. She actually has a lot of options. I mean, she could even slot back into the Bloodline thing if the Bloodline.
Yeah, if WWE would bring her back, but I don't know if she's going to go back due to her friendship. That's the thing. I have no insight into that, so I don't know. But also making a move, former WWE announcer Charlie Caruso, using a real name of Charlie Arnott, has left ESPN after 5 years to join Outkick, hosting a new show in development that will be announced prior to the fall. She's basically going to be their version of Kay Adams. I don't know if you know who that is, Chris. She does stuff for FanDuel now. She used to be on the NFL Network, but she'll continue to host some things for UFC, like the on ESPN, like the UFC, but also making hits because Outkick has a deal with Fox News. But I always like Charlie Caruso, so good luck to her.
Yeah, good luck to her. Good for her.
Haley and Hannah Cavender, who are on NIL deals to WWE, have forgone their senior year or their last year of eligibility at the University of Miami, have entered the WWE Performance Center. Now, why do I bring this up? I bring this up because they're making well over $1 million a piece in all their social media. They are twins. They are tall. They are blonde. They are hot. They say they cannot wait because the physical challenge at WWE, blah, blah, blah. Chris, I give this 3 months because they're making way too much money to just be schlubs and continuing the grind of an athlete. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. If they do get in, they might just get like a really favorable deal from WWE. WWE.
Oh, they're already on. They were on deals in college, like last year. They were. I think they were the first act signed by this next in line or next whatever initiative that they had. They were the first ones to get big money deals from that.
Yeah, and I mean, with WWE's reorientation towards social media stars, I mean, they might have sat them down and given them a presentation of like the Bellas and been like, we can do this for you and even more. So I don't know. I mean, they might see it out. I expect them to get wildly overpushed, like, instant NXT.
I don't even think they make TV. I think they give up and go, we're making too much money on social media. Why will we do this? This is going to hurt our brand.
We shall see.
We'll see. Some quick hits, and if you want to comment on any of them, I will do that, or I'll give you a chance after this. Gable Stevenson entered in a U.S. in the U.S. National Amateur Tournament, which he had said he had planned to do. I think he's going to make a run now for the 2024 Olympics. So, given that he wasn't really developing all that well in the Performance Center, I think that's a strong move on his part. Steve Macklin beat Kushida to win the Impact Heavyweight title, and Deonna Purrazzo beat Jordan Grace to win the Knockouts title in Impact's April 16th Rebellion show. Nick Aldis also back to Impact after getting no interest from WWE or AEW. And in AEW signing news, Commander is now All Elite. Anything there float your boat, Chris?
I think Commander is going to end up on the same. I call it the Andrade trajectory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even less so.
Less so. No. Like Andrade is the absolute ceiling, but I just Commander is
AEW's Lucha House Party, perhaps.
Yeah. Right. We've seen this movie play out, and it's not just in WWE. AEW is now starting to rack up a pretty lengthy reel of this movie as well, where guy comes in, does nice lucha moves, but can't do any promos, thus cannot be a vehicle for stories, thus the great match effect, I'm capital G, capital M, great match effect, wears off relatively quickly. And also they really have like one match that they work.
Yes, and they have a couple of high spots that they do, and unless they're working with a guy who knows their spots and stuff like that to do new stuff, they're uncomfortable with it. I mean, we've now seen Commander like 3 weeks in a row, either in ROH or AEW. It's the same thing to me. We
mistake we mistake high spots for multidimensionality as an in-ring storyteller. And if someone came from another country like a Great Muta sort of thing, where they could do lots of different things, everything from submission style wrestling to kind of, breathtaking high spots to, intense spots. You have these layers. You don't necessarily need to have a lot of storytelling because you can have very different matches each time. Like imagine Dean Malenko, only like, not from the States. Like you can do lots of different matches. I mean, Dean was more of a technical guy, but you get the general idea here. In a lot of cases, what AEW has been signing, and they've been signing a lot of the same type of guy. A lot of these guys have the same type of match.
Very athletic, very gymnastics heavy.
And it all has to be fast.
Yes.
It doesn't work at any other speed but fast. They're like a thrash metal band where the riffs, like if you're not playing them fast, aren't actually that good a riff.
Like if you really took some time and did something with this Jose the Assistant Andrade, Los Ingobernables de AEW or whatever stable, and you built it and you found a guy who could talk. I don't know how good Jose talks in terms of his promo skills, but if he could be like a Gary Hart type, I'd love it. And got a nice little lucha stable there, and their express goal was to take out the Lucha Brothers for coming to America and soiling their reputation or whatever. That would be an interesting feud to me. I could deal with that, but they're gonna stick them on there with like Dralistico versus Penta and we'll have the lucha match. This is the lucha spot, but they're never gonna get above that mid card thing, and it's gonna be very first hour of Nitro where here's La Parka versus Juventud Guerrera. Now I might enjoy that because I love La Parka and I kind of like Juvi, but there's a ceiling there, and they're gonna hit it very quick, being on every week after week after week.
And some guys should be here on short-term contracts, and some guys should be here on long-term
contracts. Rotate them, make them special.
Yeah. And a guy like Commander to me is a 3-month sort of deal. You bring him in, you have a program, maybe 2 programs that you want him to work, and then, we'll see you again here in like 6 to 9 months.
And instead it appears that this is Tony who's going to bring them out at the point, well, we need the crowd to pop. So we're going to put some high-flying action in there, and it's going to be Commander doing his walk the tightrope and do a dive thing. And it's like, okay, great.
This isn't a show where the problem at the end of it is, there wasn't enough action. The show always has action. If anything, the critique is that action alone isn't enough.
That ends the news part of the show. Now to the lazy river of wrestling criticism. Whatever we watched, whatever we saw, whatever's on our mind in the world of professional wrestling, we will talk about here. We kind of dipped our toe a little bit on the Commander talk, but
I want to do one more thing then. Let me start. Okay. Isn't it crazy that Damon Kemp is such a better professional wrestler than Gable Steveson?
Yes and no. It's one of those things where, and this was the warning I always gave when they were looking at, well, we're going to go and we're going to get all these high performing athletes to be in WWE, as opposed to say, the people who did like track and field in high school, but now are in the drama department type of a thing, who are still very athletic and things like that. Like, to me, you look at a family, so to speak. Okay, Damon Kemp is the little brother to
Gable
the guy that gets all the attention. So how is he going to make up for that? Well, he's going to develop a personality of some type to get attention. And that doesn't shock me at all. In terms of little brother syndrome or whatever, it does not shock me that Damon Kemp has an awesome ability to do promos in this thing, in addition to being a pretty good professional wrestler type of a thing, because that, he didn't have the athletic ability and he wasn't put in that upper echelon of, some of these athletes who are very, very high level. They're only in the gym and they're only in the jockocracy, and those are live, eat, sleep, breathe, train type of thing, as opposed to, hey, I have friends who I go out with on a Friday night for drinks and type of thing. And that to me would probably be Damon Kemp's trajectory. He probably developed a pretty good think, a pretty good personality to attract friends and stuff like that to make up for the fact that, all he had to hear about was how great his brother was. Does that track for you?
No, I think that's all correct. It's just
he's great though. I love him.
He's really good. It's
I want them
surprising
to
that
do
we didn't
more with
get
him.
to a point of Gable and Damon up against the Creeds.
Yeah.
I was at least expecting us to get to that point.
I texted you this week. I want him and Grayson Waller as a tag team. To bring them up to the main roster that way, since we're lacking in teams up there. But
those guys would have so much personality together.
God, yes.
Just like they.
And I think they're afraid to pull the trigger on Damon Kemp because he's the brother of a guy that they put in such a high profile position. If you recall, Gable Stevenson was in last year's draft.
Oh no, yeah, no, Corey Graves even corrected whoever was calling it at the time. It was like, it's Gable Stevenson. Like he really laid on it. Like they made a big point. And then Graves proceeded to gush about Gable Stevenson for forever.
Yes, I mean this was their next Kurt Angle. This was gold medals in the Olympics, and Kurt Angle was just that rare quality because when he first came in, he was stiff. You watch his first thing, and then he finally got it, and you're just like, oh my God, he's a natural at this. But it takes some, hey, loosen up a little bit. It's just not all about the athleticism in the ring type of thing. You got to be kind of entertaining too. And I don't know. I don't know if Gable was like, screw this fake crap. I'm now slumming because I didn't make the Olympics last time because of the injury and the car wreck and stuff like that. But I think he's where he wants to be. And I think after the Olympics are done, then we reassess. Then we reassess if he has the fire to go after it in the professional ranks. I think it was just way too soon for Damon Kemp to go, or not Damon Kemp, but for Gable Stevenson to go to the Performance Center when his Olympic career and his NCAA career weren't actually over. I think
you have to have a hunger to learn the hard camera.
Yes, you have to, and there has to be nothing else there. You have to be, you can't be serving two masters, so to speak, on that. So
right,
yeah. I'll let you open up the Lazy River.
I did.
Well then
yeah.
I will. This is just a short one. Actually, you know what? Let's go with an important one first instead. This opening segment on AEW Dynamite hurt this four-way program in so many ways. Jungle Boy came out and basically called Darby Allin a fraud. Oh, you're backstage doing this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And Jungle Boy's your top babyface. Or one of them are supposed to be. Just them cutting down each other. The promos from both Darby and Jack Perry weren't very good here. They almost seemed like they weren't ready for prime time. Sammy was better than those two, but he wasn't exactly great either. And then MJF comes out and just blows everybody out of the effing water. I mean, he's just head and shoulders. And there's two different things at work here. Number one, the angle with Sammy was so convoluted that it confused both me on the Dynamite show and Brian Alvarez over on Wrestling Observer, because we thought they were paying off Sammy to lay down in the main event of Dynamite as opposed to the main event of Double or Nothing. And eventually, once you realize that, then it made sense, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, I understand when you're pushing the world title above all else, and that is a tried and true and should be the way you push your world title. But the hottest feud right now is this Blackpool Combat Club Elite feud. And that's the one that's going to get buys. And I think you need to put a little bit more into that as your top feud than this four-way. Because I think it's failing a little bit. I remember last week when we said, oh man, the match to make is Darby and MJF. They need to make it a one-on-one. Well, now we're gonna have.
No, I know. We've gotten so far away from that. There have been times where Sammy's felt close. There's been times where Darby's felt there. this segment.
And I don't know
made
what's
me
going on
feel-
with Jack Perry. I mean,
No,
his stage notes, whoever's producing him, they need to test that because it's not going well.
It's not working. I know. Like the Jack Perry just gets further and further away. I mean, he does not feel ready for this right now. I was baffled by the babyface on babyface dialogue in particular.
Yes,
was really bad. Those two guys should have really had like a mutual admiration for one another. And
yes,
basically been talking about how
great each one was,
and like how it would be an honor to be like having, you know, a prestigious match against you, and that you deserve that level of spotlight and stuff. I want the title more, but like, you know, like it should have been way more laudatory rather than like, your dad's an actor and he's dead and that's why you're here. And then Jack Perry's like, yeah, well, you were a crap skateboarder.
Yes.
So, like, because you aren't any good at that, you're now a wrestler. Like, oh boy, can't wait.
How are we as fans supposed to take that? I mean, I
can't wait to see
both.
the fail son against the crappy skateboarder.
Yeah,
more prestigious stuff.
I mean, even in territories, they'd put over heels if you were a babyface as competent performers and, you know, the best of the best. I just don't personally like them. This thing was you suck and you don't deserve to be
everything
here.
else, so you got into wrestling, which doesn't elevate wrestling among other things.
That's the other thing as a just a throwback. It used to be, well, wrestling, hurting people is what I was good at, so I got into wrestling so they'd pay me to do it type of thing. Now it's, I sucked as a skateboarder. I'm coming in to be a wrestler because it's fake. You know, that kind of thing. And you're just like, what are we doing here with this program? And then I thought the ending of Sammy Jungle Boy, if the end game is still to get to the 4-way, that's the time. And I get that this is how they got out of it, was that angle where MJF pays off Sammy and eventually that check's going to bounce or it's going to be no good, so that we bring back Sammy into this. And I just assume next week Tony Khan's going to say, well, because of the actions of MJF, we're putting them in a triple threat match now. And then the Jericho Appreciation Society will somehow make that a screw job and then get to it. I thought what you do here is you do a time limit draw or you do a double DQ or something to that effect. And MJF's like, oh, wait, okay, good. It's a one-on-one match with just me. No, we're going to add those two in. And then next week it'll be Jericho Appreciation Society comes in, ruins the match, no contest. So we're putting all three in the match against MJF. That's fine. This, I don't know. I think the time limit draw makes both guys look better than just having MJF get a heat spot and Sammy get a heat spot here. I get the thinking. It felt very end of Raw to me.
Yeah. I don't love the Sammy G payoff. I mean, on one hand, you can say there's this like common thread of MJF always using like oil slick device in every single one of his title defenses.
Doing the Jungle Boy thing. You just use people. Or no, the Darby thing. You just use people to get to the top all the time.
Yeah.
Now if Sammy actually spends some of this money as opposed to the winners of the $300,000 trios match and becomes like a rich jerk, I'm here for that. As just a kind of a new coat of paint on Sammy. But, this is all going to become, oh, look, MJF's and that's the other thing, is the presentation of MJF after the initial promo. Like in front of the crowd, I don't mind the kind of playing up the camp type thing, but I want serious heel MJF champ a little bit. And, he's here to broker a deal with Sammy as opposed to, hey there, little buddy, hey, Sammy, I got a deal for you. And it's a good one for you. Kind of that serious, going from the wooing Ric Flair to the serious Ric Flair type of thing, to give MJF a little bit more depth as opposed to just always being Eddie Haskell type of a thing.
Well, and Sammy is now kind of narratively in a precarious position too, where he needs to come out of this not looking like an idiot. And I don't think he will. I think he'll come out of this looking like an idiot too. So circling back to the question of, is this feud working for any of the quote unquote 4 pillars? I don't think it is.
Maybe MJF, but that's
maybe
a maybe.
MJF. Yeah. You can argue MJF. But the other 3, and the point was to really elevate the other 3.
And they undercut themselves is what they did. They had 1 step forward and 2 steps back.
Yeah, they were arguably there last week with Darby.
Yeah,
and
they had Darby hot, and
they definitely had him heated up. And
you're just a geek skateboarder. What are you doing? Oh, and you're a fraud backstage because you're really not friendly with anybody. I legit threw my phone onto the other couch. I went, what are you doing?
Just like they just don't know what they're doing with that. There is no other way of putting it. You nailed it. Like, what are they doing? They have no idea.
Yeah. Your turn, sir.
Okay, Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs.
Okay.
Wardlow is back and better than ever, baby.
Do you want me to respond to that?
I mean, he's gonna feud with Luchasaurus.
Here, the new and improved Luchasaurus.
Would you care to comment on that, sir?
So we've now saddled Hobbs after a 3-week run with the title with QT Marshall and his band of wacky, funny sketch comedians.
We didn't even really fully explore in the last episode how ridiculous the car angle was. I know we've been talking about it on the Discord, but
I didn't mind it. I just, it's like one of those things. I mean, but they needed to establish the car as something he cared about.
Well,
and then 2 weeks later destroy it. Okay, go for it.
Like, they've spent weeks establishing that Hobbs grew up in a box and then lived in a box.
Yes, he lived in a box, as all these stories start and end.
Yeah, every underdog does. So Jeff, he grew up in a box with Grandpa Box, and then he finally got out of that and rose up through the streets.
My best friend was a potato.
Yeah. My grandfather was a fork.
Yes.
Yeah. So he rises his way through the streets, and he's finally able to afford a car.
Yes.
Of that nature. And
as gaudy as that car was, yes.
You know what? Here, Jeff, when you grow up in a box,
that car means everything because it's your big.
Life's better with an auto policy from American Family Insurance. No matter what dreams you're driving towards. That's because our expert agents will make you feel totally protected with the right auto coverage at the right price. You'll also save up to 23% when you bundle auto with home. American Family Insurance. Get a quote, find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. Visit amfam.com to learn how discounts may apply to you. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
It's worldly possession, yes. No, right. Seriously, it should be. It's like, I don't know. I grew up in kind of a lower middle class area. It's one of those things where guys overspent for cars, and that was an identity type of thing. And it should be the same thing for this.
Right. And I mean, obviously, I'm making a little bit of a light of the kind of sudden turn of Hobbs from babyface to heel here. But then you do need to actually establish why Hobbs cares about this car before you just go about destroying the car.
Yes. Because it looked like it was just like, my car, it's been destroyed, as opposed to being livid and having to be held back from going and murder deathing Wardlow. But now we've basically done the reset from last year's Double or Nothing, where he's now the TNT champion again. We have Arn Anderson with him. I love Arn, but I don't love him as a manager. And especially if he's going to do he's pulling out the gun every week, thing. I just think it's too kitschy. And we're also teasing that we're going to get a horseman type thing around Wardlow. Now, here's the thing. You don't need another horseman. And if it's just going to be guys dressed up in suits again with no personality, because the issue with horsemen has been the law of diminishing returns, where you just dress up guys now who can't talk, and you say they're horsemen, so to speak. Number 2, you have a horseman in AEW. It's the Blackpool Combat Club. They're a better horseman than any horseman you can build right now. What you need is Arn to be Harley Race to Wardlow's Vader. and just the grizzled vet who's using this giant to get.
And Arn's been like television champion. Like this actually works really well because like the TNT title is basically the TV title at this point.
Yes.
Like Arn's like the perfect. He's obsessed with the TNT title for reasons that aren't fully clear.
Yeah, he just needs to be obsessed with that TNT title, but he also needs to toughen up Wardlow a little bit and not be. See, I think the babyface experiment is done. I do. Let's make Wardlow a heel again and just make him murder death guys. I don't, I think, or at least a tweener, just a guy who's only loyal to Arn. Because I don't mind him beating Luchasaurus. I really don't. Because, it's what you need to do is make him babyface Sid from WCW and maybe even WWF, the Sid Justice run. Even though that wasn't that great and Sid was unreliable. But in WCW, babyface Sid was mad over because he just come in, destroy people, and leave. And just have Arn be that guy who's next to him, guiding him to be one of the better TV champs. I'm fine with that. But Arn coming in and doing the, I have a gun again, and you're going to be scared of my finger gun. It's like, what are we doing to Arn Anderson? We gotta give him a top hat and cape and have him dance too. I get the characterization.
Ooh, that's a fun new gimmick for Arn. I like that.
Singing Arn.
Like maybe a magician.
A magician.
Yeah, Magic Arn.
He makes fans disappear with his act.
I love it. Magic Arn. So
Magic Arn.
Yeah, he comes out. He's got like a little magic wand. He has like the hat and the cape.
And a monocle. He needs a monocle.
And a monocle. Everyone likes the Horseman, but it's a little played out, right? It's
been played out since 1989 when the Horseman died.
I've been saying that since the 90s. Time for Magic Arn.
No. Oh, it just makes, and it's funny because Arn can't get up and down the stairs, so he goes up the stairs. He just sits there and he does his bit. And they can finally go in the ring.
He can wave the wand at people, and they and they DDT themselves.
I have a box this week.
Who am I
gonna saw it have?
What? No, he disappears an opponent in the box.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's great. Like there's an outside spot,
like the Phantom of WCW.
Yeah, the guy falls out of the ring into the box. Arn goes presto changeo on the box, and the guy's gone.
He's the spellbinder from WWF. Remember that? I forget who he was in USWA, but they brought him in for a few weeks in WWF, and he just died a death, and he was a magician.
I remember. Like, didn't he like pull like a bunch of like
handkerchiefs from his mouth?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Well, okay, that didn't work because and there's a number of reasons it didn't work, obviously, and a lot of that has to do with the cultural zeitgeist of the time. But I think a big reason
the people weren't ready for a magician.
No, it was the early 90s, Jeff. Like, there's a lot of
grunge.
Grunge was really popular. America still had a lot of growing up to do, and it's just something that the people weren't ready for at the time. But I think the other big reason it failed, beyond the cultural reasons. And again, we can explore those more at a later time.
Do we need a ventriloquist act too?
No, it didn't work because he wasn't a manager, and that's where Magic Arn comes in.
Okay.
Yeah, if Arn had tried to do this,
does he need a magician name like Arn the Magnificent or something?
Like, I mean, usually you you add like an Ando or something to it.
Awesome,
so like,
Arn in the world of illusion.
Magic Arnando.
Arnando. God.
Oh, he could speak with like a Spanish sort of thing.
No, I can't do this bit anymore. No. Okay, Lazy River. Back to that.
All right, fine.
You workshop this a little. Have a few hotel ballrooms with some people. Yeah, okay.
I think you see my little elves in the workshop working hard every day.
Well, that's what else he needs. He needs elves.
Okay, Magic
Arn and his magical elves, and they make cookies, and they live in a tree.
Oh my God, Wardlow, Arn, and the elves. You telling me that's not a main event act? That's easily 20 minutes of weekly television.
Vince is salivating right now. Sign them all.
So many coherent angles just immediately pop to mind.
I am going to give some love to 47-year-old women, which are well within my dating range if I wanted to.
Do it, Jeff.
Because two of the most interesting people are 47-year-old women. Emmy Sakura on AEW. Dude. If you haven't seen the Taya Valkyrie match, they had a hoss fight on Rampage, Chris. It was Vader and Mr. Hughes, the female version, if you want to go that way. And then on Dark Elevation, I believe it was, her and Mizuki had a 4-minute David versus Goliath, Sting versus Vader sprint. And it was absolutely awesome. Emmy Sakura is, to me, the most interesting woman on this AEW roster right now. Not to take away from any of the main event acts or anything like that, but she just goes in there, she chops the crap out of people, she throws her body around like she's Cactus Jack in 92. She is absolutely awesome. And then in WWE, Trish Stratus, who I love me some Trish Stratus. This gimmick does not work for me, Chris. This heel turn that she did and her reasonings behind it are stupid. Want to know why? Because this is the gimmick that Mickie James should be doing. Not Trish Stratus. Trish Stratus is doing "you all don't respect me enough" gimmick. When she is literally the legend that it's always Trish Lita about the women's division. I don't buy it. She's still awesome. And she's still, at 47, holding up well, let's put it that way, so I don't get in trouble. But yeah, I say that to say I don't buy this feud at all. The only thing now, after that promo where she's running down the horsewomen, which has never been a thing on the main roster, it was literally only an NXT thing, and I know everybody knows about it, etc. Trish has to destroy Bayley.
Right. The only thing that makes any sense at this point is, I guess, a Bayley face turn.
Or a destruction. Just the old comic book trope of, we're introducing this cool bad guy, but he kills other bad guys because he's so badass. And just having Trish just murder death Bayley in some way to eventually then that then leads to Damage Control going off on their own or something to that effect.
Also, Trish is going to need people to be her workhorses, so maybe Trish poaches Io and Dakota.
I'm fine with that too, or at least, because Dakota, not getting her flowers enough. She had an awesome match, I thought, with Bianca Belair on Monday. I thought she was great in that. They're finally letting Bianca or not Bianca, but Io and Dakota show what they can do, as opposed to just being this geek tag team that gets banana peel wins.
Right. No, these are. It's still tough because they're eating losses and they never seem to win. But these are much better exhibitions of their talent than the tag matches have been.
Yeah, your turn, sir.
Man, okay, let's stick with Raw.
Okay.
I guess, because I feel like we're done with Dynamite at this point.
We can go back to Jay White. You had a point last week that was really good. Do you remember it? After we went off the air?
Is it the idea that Jay White and the Bullet Club Gold thing is like just this utterly mid-card sort of thing?
It was utterly forgettable. And
right. That was the point. It was the point. Is that like the debut of him with TJ Parker or Juice Robinson, completely forgettable. We didn't even mention it on the show.
And then this week, 50-50 match with Commander. That's the way you introduce him, is he's eating offense from the flippy guy on the ropes. No offense to Commander, but if this is a guy that you think is going, I think Jay White's mouth might save him, but right now, if you watch promos, he's kind of just coming in and finishing up Juice Robinson's promos for a bit. That's what he did with Renee backstage.
He's not elevating Juice. Juice is bringing him down.
Yes. And now we're in a feud with Shawn Spears, who I think is going to turn, and they're going to do a Horseman beatdown on Ricky Starks.
Oh God! And then Ricky Starks. Again, is just like caught in ever. He's caught in a spiral, and I feel like it's not really his own doing.
Yeah. No, it's not. We had plans for these guys and they all lost, but we elevated the guys that lost. They've elevated Chris Jericho. They've elevated Moxley, who lost in that feud.
Yeah, Chris Jericho gets a feud with Adam Cole.
Yeah, they've elevated Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, who lost in the MJF match. They've elevated everybody who lost in their matches because they're big name talents, and then they've left the guys who actually won those things to kind of stew a bit with no real direction into how to elevate them, because it's like, well, we can't. And this is a problem. And this is what I mentioned in the Discord as well. They start to push a guy and they go, oh, well, if we want to get him to this level, he has to beat somebody on that level. And we're not ready to beat them yet. So let's give them a mid-card feud where they ultimately just absolutely turn into ice. Any heat Ricky Starks had going into that Jericho feud is dead. Absolutely dead.
God, it feels like an afterthought, right?
Yes,
because you can't have Starks talking about beating Jericho because Jericho's now in an elevated feud.
Yes.
So you're really, you're just not able to capitalize on this.
Yeah.
It's kind of
but let's go to Raw real quick, because a news bit I missed was because of a booking decision, they've changed the theme of the Saudi show from King and Queen of the Ring to Night of Champions. And I have now seen some speculation, and I think it's correct. I think part of it might be correct. I think Brock's going to eventually beat Roman.
My goodness.
Yeah. And then maybe Cody beats Brock for the title at SummerSlam. But if that happens, then this entire Bloodline story has been a waste of effing time, because now you're adding more and more characters. You're adding Riddle to it. You're adding the Judgment Day or Judgment Night or whatever they call themselves. I can't remember all this. The phony vampires, which was an interesting tete-a-tete, but you're never going to cash in on that. You're never going to cash in on Judgment Night versus the Bloodline and the whole Rhea solo thing. I don't think.
Which is too bad, because I will say
that was interesting. It
wasn't bad, right? No, that stuff wasn't bad at all.
No, and it's interesting, heels working with other heels to make business deals behind the scenes and to get rid of mutual. That's a time-honored tradition of, one heel hires another group of heels to take out somebody who's their enemy, and that kind of thing. But also just heel groups going, oh, hey, wait a second, because you remember the big deal when the Wyatts and the Shield were being, built up to go up against each other. People loved that. And there wasn't a babyface to be found amongst those six. So, and Heyman's just awesome at all times. So, yeah, I really liked that part. But, boy, it feels like Cody is not going to be able to beat Roman, but rather he's going to beat Brock. And it's going to be like, okay. And then we're just going to rerun this whole entire thing over again eventually.
God, he'll be stuck in a Brock chase, though, for like 6 months, too.
Yeah. Because they see Brock.
It's going to be like Heyman betrays Roman at the end of all of this.
Yes. He's going to go with the winning hand.
Yep.
And then eventually he'll re-betray Brock. Or something. I don't know. Your turn.
God. All right. The Cody Rhodes, I staying on the Brock thing. Cody Rhodes against the security guards did not work for me.
Okay.
He's not big enough to do I'm beating down 20 guys. Some of those people are bigger than him. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work when you're that size. It's like Rey Mysterio can't beat off like 8 security guards.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
No, but that should. Yeah. It should be so rare that a guy can break away from guys holding him back. What it should be is one group of security guards is holding one guy back, the other group is holding the other guy back, and they're just trying to get at each other, and they're screaming at each other, looking at each other while these guys hold them back. That's the visual. Instead, they do the WWE thing as well. These guys are stronger than most ordinarily mortal men, and they can break free from 20 security guards trying to separate them. And it worked like with Goldberg and Brock.
No, it makes sense with the Undertaker and Kane.
And Undertaker
and like
and Kane,
yeah, like
you know?
Vader, like these like big guys.
Giants, yes.
Omos should be doing.
And then Triple H started doing it, and you're like, get the F out of here.
Yeah. And Cody, it just for me didn't work. Didn't work for me.
Yeah. Dare we? Because I think we've from this NXT show. I don't know what to think, Chris. Because there were plums of goodness on it. But my God, I never want to watch another episode of this show again after some of the things I saw. I understand that John Oliver is a big deal and he did a hit piece on Vince. But that Nathan Frazier thing was one of the worst things I've ever seen on a professional wrestling show. And I've been watching wrestling for about 40 years. In terms of killing a guy's aura by trying to make him entertaining. This was suffering succotash level stuff. Did you like it or hate it?
Oh, I hated it.
Okay.
I mean, what they've done with Nathan Frazier since he's re-debuted in NXT has all been bad, but this has been like a particular low point. I also just think like he looked bad. Like he looked like
he was about 30 years older.
Okay, all right. Like I was about to say,
receding hairline,
way older than he is.
Yes,
and I just it's baffling to me.
All of a sudden, the baldness hit, and you hate to see it in a guy because as a fellow man of follicle lacking genes and genetics, yeah, and the beard, yeah, he looked older, and you're just like, oh man. And this is what you're doing. It's the long hair too. You got to cut that stuff short now. But I mean, there were like, it's weird because one of the things I thought was really, really good on this show was that Roxanne Perez promo. I thought it made her look awesome. And I really liked the Zoe Stark match out of her. But it was sandwiched in between with Indy Hartwell doing one of the worst promos I've ever seen out of anybody holding a title. She has no natural delivery. All of her goodwill is involved in this Dexter Lumis storyline. And then
and her logic at the end of this was really incoherent too.
You didn't lose the title, so I'm gonna let you in, and then I'm gonna let her in. I'm just gonna let everybody in who wants to. I mean, you had that terrible Lyra Valkyria, basically doing Sybil Danning from Battle Beyond the Stars. Because that's, I think, her character is an actual, yes, the battle, it will be great. The thing, you had the Von Wagner, my name is Von Wagner, I want to be a champion, and my dad was a Beverly brother.
Von Wagner invoking his dad. I haven't been moved that much by someone invoking their dad since Shotzi Blackheart.
I was thinking you're gonna go with Dominic Mysterio, but you gotta invoke the Beverly brother, not Wayne the Train Bloom from the Destruction Crew, who was a charisma machine. Come on. Yeah, Well,
I mean, Von Wagner's not a charisma machine.
No,
so
he is not.
Maybe he should have.
He is absolutely not, and I don't want him to be. I just have him be angry and brooding because it's the choices that people are making in this, in like they are trying things.
This
in
dude's
company.
delivery is just naturally a lunk delivery.
Yes, make him a lunk.
Everything he says sounds like a lunk.
And then you have,
if you were going to do something funny with him, you'd have him say something really smart because with that voice, it would be surprising because you would not expect that voice to deliver something smart.
Yes, he says it dryly and wryly and just says something very smart and then says nothing else. And just have Robert Stone, who can do this, just play off of that. Like, what? You're a genius. Who are you doing? It's the Eric Rowan character from SmackDown.
Oh yeah, you could make him a vintner and a classical guitarist.
No. You want to make Arn a magician? You want to make...
Okay, I'm an ideas guy. I got a bit of a vision for what I want in the
bad
industry.
ideas guy. That's the problem here.
Okay, here's the thing. Would you rather have bad ideas or no ideas at all?
No ideas at all. That's what I'm here
well,
for.
That's how you get
then
nowhere.
you have middle manager Duke Hudson playing the insincere babyface when people want to cheer him. Drop that part of it. Drop it. Because it's there. And then you have, I don't know what shade of brown you'd call this, but Braun Breaker is in the tanning right now, looking Oompa Loompa brown, maybe. And he's cutting these promos. And I don't know if I like him or hate him, but there's something. There's something in there. I don't know if it's good, but there's something in there to them. And then, the piece de resistance. That is French, Chris. The Brooks Jensen. What's Briggs's first name?
It's Brooks. It's Brooks Jensen.
Brooks Jensen and
Josh Briggs.
Josh Briggs. This is the yin and yang of this NXT because Brooks Jensen stinks in any delivery he tries, and he's trying to play suave businessman, even though it's just basically, I'm wearing a button-down t-shirt with my jeans kind of a thing. But Josh Briggs is doing some thespian stuff. His eyes are tearing up as he's talking to Kiana James. He is imploring her, please do. And I am watching this. I'm going, this man needs an Emmy reel for consideration. Because I'm watching his eyes, and they are. He's either putting drops in those things, or he is doing some method stuff here. Because he is working, Chris. This man was working hard to put over this crap dialogue that he was saying right now.
I was legitimately impressed with Briggs's work. I don't think Jensen did a good job performing, but I think they did a good job with the makeover.
Yes, they did.
He really does look like they made him look like 80s urban
cowboy.
Yeah,
urban cowboy.
Yeah, suit douchebag guy.
Yeah. No. He's the son of the oil businessman who's buying up all the town.
Yeah. No, I liked. I mean, I thought
his
they
delivery
did a good job.
sucked.
No, it sucks. Duke Hudson. Circling back, I mean, the issue with this Duke Hudson character is the longer this goes on, the dumber it makes Andre Chase look.
Yes.
And I actually think that the more intriguing match, too, was Duke Hudson versus Braun Breaker.
Yes, I agree. And they're going to do it, and he's going to run away or get DQ'd or throw Thea Hale in there or something.
He'll get counted out.
Yeah.
But, no, that to me is actually where the intrigue is. Especially sending Chase into this match with an injury angle to me is asinine. He's already sufficiently an underdog. He's like a twig. The whole point, Braun Breaker's like a super athlete who does all these crazy power moves.
Yes.
You don't need Andre Chase injured. If anything, Chase what would make this actually entertaining is 4 weeks of Chase constantly outsmarting Breaker, making Breaker angrier and angrier. Essentially like the genius angle with Hulk Hogan, only in reverse, where Andre Chase is the genius as a babyface, and he's constantly outsmarting Breaker.
Like he gets the win, but then he gets the crap kicked out of him by Braun, and then the next week he's in a neck down body cast, and he ends up getting the pin because Braun can't lift the weight of the body cast up, and then he just pummels him again. I'm here for that kind of ridiculousness.
No, basically the intrigue does Chase have some sort of master plan to.
Is he the smart college professor?
Right.
That's his effing gimmick.
Right.
Yes.
He's been outsmarting Breaker all these weeks. Can he actually outsmart him one last time at the pay-per-view?
Yes.
And instead, like, Breaker has been getting the upper hand. You have Duke Hudson come out and cut a promo on himself, basically, and Chase is inserted in this match at the very end of it, and Chase is not going to win this match.
And when Duke Hudson did the fire up spot, he was such. This is what people wanted. Yes, you've gone all in on the gimmick, and then he instantly goes back to being I just wanted the trophy and wanted credit. And I'm really a heel still. It's like, no. Go with this. See where it goes. See if Duke Hudson can show some sort of baby. We've seen Duke Hudson as a crappy heel. We've seen him as a crappy heel with MVP. We've seen him as a crappy heel as a poker player. We've seen him as a crappy heel. What was his other gimmick that they tried with him?
Poker player. Did he do a motivational speaker?
I think so. And it's just all this See, he is not a good disingenuous type of character. Either he's a prick or he's a roaring hero. And we've never really seen him go all in on can he be a fiery babyface. And since we're testing people's limits by having Braun, who's the most likable lunkhead, become a heel, why not go the opposite direction with this and make. Let's see what Duke Hudson has, because I haven't seen. He's tall. That's his gimmick. That's been his gimmick since he came in here. That used to be his Twitter handle. It was like 6'7" or at 6 foot whatever he was. You're like, that's not enough.
No.
If he doesn't have any range, let's get rid of him. Or give him make him Dijak Jr. or something, because Dijak at least brings it. And going to the main event, I thought the vignette to set up that match was one of the better uses of camera and the parking lot and guys running into each other on their way to work, so to speak, that NXT has done of late. I thought that was at least interesting. I mean, because Dijak didn't go the full chewing scenery, I'm an evil person, kind of a thing. He kind of had a little bit of charm to him as a heel, accepting that thing with Apollo. And I thought the match was really good too.
I agree. No, Cruz and Dijak. Look,
that's PWG like 2014.
We've done so many different things with Dijak at this point that it's hard to get super excited about it.
Same with Apollo. That's the problem. Is that Apollo has been beaten. He gets a refresh, and then he gets beat again after they build up the refresh.
Right, and so I don't know. It's hard to get too wound up one way or the other on that. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else that really stuck out to me? Wesley and Charlie Dempsey had a nice match. It was nice. It was
fine.
Yeah, it was fine. But I actually think that, especially if you're trying to build up Charlie Dempsey, this shouldn't have came to a conclusive finish. This should have ended when Drew Gulak came in and attacked Wesley. Wesley shouldn't have beat Charlie Dempsey here.
Yeah, and the problem with Drew Gulak is that Dempsey partnership is basically Diamond Mine Part 2.
Yeah, it is.
It's catch point. It's what it's the usual thing they put Drew Gulak in and wherever he is. It's you're a mat technician. We're gonna make you part of a group of mat technicians type of a thing.
And JC Jane and Gigi Dolan cannot get any heat on their feud, no matter what. You could pour gasoline all over this feud, and it still wouldn't catch
This
fire.
could be in the sixth circle of hell, and it would have no heat to it.
Somehow, flames would go around it.
Milton would look at this thing and go, "Get out of here!" and rip up the entire.
It's an oasis of cool in an otherwise torturous ring of hell.
I found respite in the circle of Gigi Dolan and JC Jane's absolutely heatless, crappy feud, where Gigi grew up in a box.
Yeah, they tell me you can't experience absolute zero. I defy you, and I say no, Gigi Dolan.
I was in hell.
No heat.
And none. Gigi Dolan and JC Jane gave me water. Because Gigi Dolan isn't that good.
No,
I'm sorry, and that's the one that they're going to focus on. And
I mean, if anything, like having Cora Jade beat her, she needs
that's
wins.
the other thing is Cora Jade is
Dolan needs wins as a new babyface,
and Cora Jade's out here burying the entire division in fell swoops week after week. Why isn't this division putting like soap in towels and just beating the crap out of her?
Right, it doesn't feel like it's building anything. Like I mean,
no, I know what it's building to. It's building to Roxanne Cora Jade Part 2. We're going right back to that.
Yeah, and maybe Cora gets a match against Indy. I especially given the Indy and Tiffany and Roxanne match. I'm like, oh, okay, we're making this Indy Hartwell title reign long, I guess.
No, I think we're cutting this off.
Oh,
I actually think there's a chance Indy gets brought up to the main roster to do the Way stable or to be Bailey's protege, because Bailey's really high on Indy. I could see that happening.
I could see that happening.
But I could see this. I could see this. But overall, I could just see this being a one special event title reign, because they just wanted to get the big pop for all the old NXT fans remember the Dexter Lumis story. And now that we're not doing a Mania type weekend event at crypto.com where we need to sell tickets and we're in the Performance Center, now it's back to giving it to somebody in the Performance Center. I think this is going to be Tiffany Stratton.
You think Crypto's going to come back?
Superman's dog or well, it depends which crypto.
Oh, I didn't realize he lost it.
You mean cryptocurrency?
Yeah.
This is a weird tangent, but
no, I was just making a crypto.com.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think if the economy comes back, eventually it will as a secondary currency, because people will just start trashing the dollar again. I think if China manipulates, but you aren't here for my financial advice. I do think if you wanted to put a little bit of fun money in a stock, I'd put it in FRC right now, because I think that's going to bounce back. But anyways, anything else on the Lazy River?
No. I'm looking.
I'm trying to think of something from Dynamite. Oh, I liked the beatdown of Britt. I enjoyed that for this reason, because it makes a call I made very logical. Because I thought, all right, Jericho has a sports entertainment stable, and the Outcasts are basically we think WWE is a superior place stable. So I thought them as bedfellows makes sense. And also, if we're going to do a blood and guts, who did I say the team should be? Should be the Outcasts and Tay and Anna, who are both members of who? The Jericho Appreciation Society. I think that's a natural way to go. And I think for the originals, you put Jaden as the heater on that team. That would blow her up as a babyface, but that's me. But I thought it was well done. The handcuffing of Adam Cole, who has to then watch as Britt, who, man, that Instagram photo. Let's hope everybody knows she's a wrestler. Let's put it that way. Otherwise, some cops may be getting called. I thought the beatdown, I thought it was an effective moment, and I thought, I actually thought also that the Blackpool Combat Club Elite fight was very, very effective in getting Takeshita now into this feud. I think Takeshita eventually turns and joins the Blackpool Combat Club, and then they bring in Kota Ibushi to join with the Elite, because that gives everybody the Golden Lovers moment that they want.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I
think he goes with Callis, and he hangs with Bryan Danielson, who he protected at one time, because you notice they didn't fight. I think the real problem with that feud is Bryan Danielson's character. I think it's too cheeky. I think it's too much of a fourth wall breaking commentary on what makes a real pro wrestler.
I'm with you. I think that by doing the meta stuff, they missed what is a much better pivot out of the MJF thing, which is that he hates the entire company now because he's not world champion.
Yeah,
he should be world champion, and he should be like basically screaming at all the fans that he hates them because they're not mad enough that he's not world champion.
Yes,
like they.
I don't want him to be a wink and a nod heel.
No,
I won't be angry.
They all betrayed me. You guys, where was my yeses? Where were my people behind me when I was getting screwed?
I'm away from my family right now.
Yeah.
And I have to be with you jerks type of a thing. Although I think they're nailing Yuta. I think Yuta is doing great work as Sean
and
Waltman.
I think like a lot of the other stuff is working. It's just like if they had actually more logically transitioned Danielson from babyface to heel coming out of that MJF feud. And they hadn't, they did have a runway. They like you know, now it's easy to like kind of like look now and go like, oh, okay, yeah. He loses his title match and it makes him livid at the company, at the other baby faces, that basically nobody was by his side when he was getting screwed. And that includes the fans. And like that last little yes plea at the end of that match actually plays right into it. Like the fans left him hanging.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think you should turn Don Callis with Takeshita, and then Don Callis can be JJ Dillon here, and the other heels who, you know, they're not bad promos, but they're not necessarily great promos. They could all play off of him. I think that's your, you know, if you want a horseman in there, you have one there for you in some ways. And then, you know, you have all the things for Forbidden Door and all that other stuff. And then once you decide to pull the trigger on Punk and FTR as another, you know, on the come heel, I'm hoping they're heels. How do you not make Punk and FTR heels? That's a conundrum, because Punk's gonna have to be a heel when he comes back, right?
It seems like it. I don't feel like. I guess a better way of putting it is, will this crowd let him stay babyface?
Yeah, you know what? That's and you brought that up earlier. Yeah, I just don't see them allowing him. Like he'll be a baby. He'll be the local babyface. He'll be Britain, Pittsburgh, but it'll only be in Chicago. Because I don't think the Chicago fans will ever turn on him.
No, they'll never turn on him, but that would actually be a fun place for him to do his first heel promo. Not on the fans, but basically sort of like announcing in Chicago versus the world. That like, you know, he's glad to be back here, but he hates everyone else across the country.
Yeah. I don't have any other points. Do you?
Me neither.
Let's wrap this up. You can follow me on Twitter at CrapGame13. You can follow Chris on the Instagram at Dr. Nove, DOCTOR_NOV. You can just follow the show if you want on Twitter at Shake Them Ropes, all one word. We are part of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Enjoy all the shows on the super feed, the flagship, Music of the Mat, Open the Voice Gate, The Good, the Bad, the Hungy. Whatever your niche interest in professional wrestling, there's a podcast for you on Voices. But if you want other audio from me, you can join Fight Game Media, patreon.com/Fight Game Media. For $5 a month, Paul Ace Fontaine and I do a show on their subscription feed that thoroughly deconstructs AEW. And we go on about 15 minutes after the show, and that drops usually about an hour and a half after Dynamite has finished up. Once again, patreon.com/Fight Game Media, and you can enjoy all the shows over on that feed as well. Chris is in bands, and he teaches music, and he sells weed, and he does a plethora of other things that he's going to plug to you now.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram.com at Instagram.com/DOCTOR_NOV. Dr. Nove is my name-o on the Instagram.
They call me Dr. Nove.
They call me Dr. Nove. Yeah, you can follow me there for all of my Ace Freely loving antics and Base Freely antics as well. Yeah. I play with Hondo Coyote. We play around Albuquerque. I will be doing shows with Two Player Game and also Auto Electric here in the next week or so. So follow me on the gram if you are local to the area and want to catch me, or just want to keep up with the music and that sort of thing. I post about that stuff and my road travels on Instagram.
See you next week. I got no button for this.
Yeah, nothing.
Hello, Voices of Wrestling listener. Dave Ryan here. Have you ever wondered to yourself how many hidden gems are hidden away inside the last years of World Championship Wrestling? Have you ever asked yourself how many tenuous gags can be made about the name Mike Enos? And have you ever thought about what it sounds like for two Irishmen to interpret a very chaotic company through its B show? The answers to all this and more are just a click away. Check out Days of Thunder every second Thursday on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
Hola, hola, my name is Ricardo. I am the host of the Lucha Jovers podcast here in the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. We are a Spanish-speaking show dedicated to discussing and analyzing pro wrestling from all across the world. From AEW to CMLL, we talk about American wrestling, Japanese wrestling, and of course, Lucha Libre. If something big happened in the pro wrestling world, we will talk about it. So if you know Spanish or have a friend that knows Spanish or want to practice your Lucha Libre pronunciations, go listen to the Lucha Jovers podcast right here in the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. Nos vemos por ahí.
So, how does it feel when you play Roll Up to Win with Tim Hortons? Buy a hot or cold beverage using the Tim's app and find out. Roll in the app for a chance to win prizes ranging from free coffee and donuts to a Universal Orlando resort vacation or a sweet car. Oh, don't forget the TV. And this year, every roll is a shot at a $1,000 daily giveaway drawing for two $500 prizes. Roll up to win and get treated by Tim's. No purchase necessary. Account registration required. 50 U.S. and D.C. 18 plus entered by 4/2/23. See rules at rolluptowin.com for free entry and full details. Void in Florida and where prohibited.